Welcome to day 10 of your alcohol free journey. I am so proud of you for making it this far. Today, we're going to talk about something that you may be experiencing right now: discomfort. First, let me acknowledge that day 10 is statistically one of the most challenging days in this journey. And there's actually a scientific reason for this. Your body has adjusted to the initial physical changes of removing alcohol, but your brain's reward system is still calibrating. As we discussed yesterday, when we regularly drink alcohol, our brain creates a tolerance that requires more alcohol to achieve the same effects. At this point in your fast, your brain's neurotransmitters are essentially relearning how to function without alcohol, and this can create intense cravings and discomfort in the process. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, on day 5, we talked about all these amazing benefits of being alcohol free, but today I'm feeling worse than ever. This is completely normal. The path to those benefits often includes periods of discomfort. Think about it like this. When you start exercising after a long break, your muscles are sore before they get stronger. When a butterfly emerges from its chrysalis, it has to struggle through a difficult transformation before it can fly. Those benefits we discussed, better sleep, mental clarity, improved relationships, deeper spiritual connection, they're all still coming, I promise. In fact, you may have already started noticing some of these, but right now you're in what I call the middle space. It's like crossing the Red Sea with Moses. You've left Egypt, which is your drinking life, behind, but you haven't reached the promised land or your alcohol-free life yet. The discomfort you're feeling is part of the transformation process. Some of the benefits, like better hydration and no hangovers, are immediate. Others, like improved sleep patterns and emotional regulation, take time as your body and brain adjust to this new normal. The spiritual benefits, feeling more connected to God, being more present in prayer, hearing His voice more clearly, these often deepen as we push through these uncomfortable moments and learn to turn to Him instead of alcohol. Discomfort isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. In fact, it's often a sign that you're doing something right. You're literally rewiring your brain and restructuring your life. That's no small task. The key is to accept and expect this discomfort as part of your healing journey, not as a reason to turn back. Now, before we move into our mindfulness techniques, I need to share an important warning about something many of you are likely experiencing right now: intense sugar cravings. While it might be tempting to combat your alcohol cravings with sweets, and you may have already done this or read advice suggesting it, I want to lovingly caution you about this approach. Here's why. Your brain's reward system doesn't actually distinguish between alcohol and sugar. Both trigger the same dopamine response in your brain's pleasure center. When you removed alcohol, your brain started actively searching for alternative ways to get that same pleasurable feeling. Sugar becomes an obvious substitute because it works on the same neural pathways. If we're working to break free from alcohol's hold on our lives and turn to God instead, simply switching to sugar isn't addressing the root issue. We're just switching one false comfort for another. As 1 Corinthians 6, verse 12 tells us, "I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial." I learned this lesson the hard way on my own journey, following well-meaning advice to, quote, just eat the cake instead of drinking. I found myself 30 pounds heavier and still not addressing my core need to turn to God rather than substances for comfort or to fill the void that I felt. That's why I'm sharing this with you now, not to make you feel guilty if you've been reaching for sweets. I certainly did it myself, but just want you to understand and recognize this pattern early so you can make an informed choice. Instead of replacing alcohol with sugar, I encourage you to use the mindfulness techniques we're about to discuss and that we've discussed in the past. These tools, combined with prayer and scripture, can help you navigate cravings, whether they're for alcohol or sugar, in a way that truly serves your physical and spiritual well-being. So, without further ado, here's a reminder of the mindfulness techniques we have previously discussed to help you through the discomfort when triggers and cravings strike. Remember Surf the Urge? This is the technique that when the desire to drink hits, you imagine that you are a surfer, watching as a wave builds. Just as the wave peaks, you jump up on your surfboard and ride it safely to shore. You don't fight the wave, you simply ride it out. Another useful technique is called the stop method. When you feel triggered and a craving hits, you literally stop what you're doing and you say your name, followed by the word stop. Then take a couple of deep breaths, observe your surroundings, and then proceed mindfully. And then again, my personal favorite is play the movie forward. The next time you want to drink, don't just think about that first sip. Mentally play out the entire scenario. You have the first drink, the initial relief or buzz feels good. One drink leads to another, because it usually does. You end up drinking more than planned. The fuzzy thinking sets in. You wake up at 3 a.m. with anxiety. The next morning brings shame, headache, and regret. And then your hard-earned 10 days of progress reset to zero. When cravings hit and you use one of these techniques, you will be strengthening both your faith and your resolve. The discomfort you're feeling now is temporary, but the freedom you're working toward is lasting. Think of this as a spiritual detox, not just removing alcohol from your system, but making room for more of God's presence in your life. Before we close today, I want you to know something important. If day 10 feels challenging, day 11 often brings similar struggles. But here's the beautiful part. You're going to be ready for it. Tomorrow, we'll talk about the power of morning rituals. See you then.